Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here again. Thank you for being at Changing the Picture. Welcome to all of you. For those few who have a translation kit, I just want to say it's Channel 5. I would like to introduce to you those two moderators which are guiding today through the day. First, we're very happy to have here Kate Bulkley. She was working for CNN. She is American. She moved, I think, some 24 years ago to London and is an award-winning journalist working for the main British newspapers. And she is one of the moderators today, Kate Bulkley.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we're very proud to have Scott Roxborough here from The Hollywood Reporter, working as well for Deutsche Welle and different German TV stations. You are starting, Scott, and thank you so much for being here. It's your place. Thank you.
Great. Well, hello. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. This obviously is a technology conference, so we'll soon get into the bits and bytes and deep data and all the other stuff that I'm sure you're here to see and hear and talk about. But because we're talking about the media industry, I think it's important that we remember why we probably all got into this industry and why we as consumers are involved buying these things, consuming television, film, or whatever, and that eventually always boils down to story. And so our first talk today will be specifically about that. And maybe we'd like to start with a little sizzle reel that reminds us why probably we all got into this business in the first place. Can you roll the reel?
All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths, and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly with good cape and line, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon with spectacles on nose and pouch on side.
His youthful hose, well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank.
And his big, manly voice, turning again towards childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything.
Yeah, I really don't know how I'm going to follow that. Please give a warm welcome to Kate Rowland, who's the head of new creative writing at
I'm the creative director of new writing.
Okay,
and
creative
head of
director.
Writersroom.
Okay, creative director of new writing and the head of the BBC Writersroom. Because we're talking about story here, please, yes, full applause. Cumberbatch gets enough attention. Let's focus on the behind the scenes. Obviously, we talked a lot nowadays. You hear a lot of talk about the golden age of television drama, and that the writer is the new king, the new queen of TV. And there's a lot of talk about writers' rooms. Usually, the American writers' room model, where if you don't know, a group of writers get together to develop a show and so forth. A model that's often being copied now in Europe, but the BBC Writers' Room is something a bit different. It's been going on for a long time, and it's quite unique, I think, not just in Europe, but in the world.
Completely in the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe for anyone who doesn't know the project, give a very, your elevator pitch of what it is and why you started it.
I started it for two reasons. One, to create an open door for talent, because I think sometimes the arts, drama, media can be quite elitist organisations, and a lot of people don't feel that they can access it. Secondly, it's about having the best, most rich, most complex stories, and you get that from different voices. So I think that's really important. And the other was about targeting talent. If you find somebody, how can you nurture and mentor that talent? Because being a writer, it's about a journey. It's not hit and run, it doesn't happen immediately. And the BBC is unique because it has radio, it has television, it has film, it's drama, comedy, children's programmes. And what I don't do is pigeonhole writers in one place. Writers move platform, they go from theatre, they go to television, they go to film. And it's about how can we be there as an internal agent for the long term, working with them. We also take as a sort of sideline 10,000 scripts a year, which we have and look at and deal with. We run writers' labs, so just the other week we had Joss Weinstein over to run an animation week with 9 new writers, and they're coming up with new animations for comedy and for CBBC. Last week we took away 9 diverse women looking at different stories, fresh perspectives for BBC One. So all the time we think about what's a priority, what's a business need, and actually what haven't you thought about. So we'll get on to talk about innovation as well in terms of other ideas, other ways of working. So I'm writer-led, I'm outward-facing, I work with theatres, screen agencies, small community projects sometimes. So we do all that.
Right. Yeah, and just the thing, I'll be asking questions back and forth, but please, this is your conference, so please feel free to ask questions. I'll be looking out in the audience at any time. I think we have microphones going around. If not, just speak loudly. But just raise your hand briefly if you have a question for Kate or any of the other panelists to come during the conference. Perhaps so, I mean, because this is a technology conference, we obviously want to talk about technology and how it impacts the work you do. But what do you, is there anything that bothers you about discussions about technology as it applies to television and as it applies to storytelling? Is there anything where you think people have got it the wrong way around?
I think, that clip tape is wonderful because it's about character. And I think if we forget, content is king. It's a very basic thing. What we're all drawn to are characters that will stay with us, that are complex. And I can't tell you so many times I read a script and there is no story at all. Nothing happens. There's a group of people, you can put them anywhere and you think, please let something happen to them. Please let it matter. And you can have all the discussions in the world about platforms. And I've been into so many rooms where everyone goes, oh, there's a new platform, we've got this. And you think, well, what's going on it? Who's going to create the content for that platform? Because I've seen so many things that are format driven, created by producers, and they're not thinking about the audience. And we as an audience are incredibly different and have big wants and kind of lots of different ideas, and you need writers, I think, to serve those ideas. I think mostly they're best at their job, and all the rest of us are very good at other jobs. So I think it's really important to put writers in that process. A lot of new online drama, I mean, it's interesting in the UK that comedy is the one that's made the most of new platforms and new areas, whereas drama has not yet succeeded, I think, in kind of getting to grips with what it could be.
Mm-hmm. And is that, I mean, is there a reason for that? I mean, is just a form of comedy more suitable to online viewing, to this sort of short form, which is dominant and mobile? I mean, is there a reason why dramas have such a difficult time making it in the online space?
I think it's a mixture of things. I think it's a mixture of ego. Mm-hmm. So it's interesting where people come from. Most people come up to me and say, I've got a feature. And I think, oh, have you? Oh, good. It's not likely to go. On the plane coming over, I was sat next to a lawyer who, after half an hour, told me about she had 5 scripts, and it's what I call the brown envelope moment, which nearly always happens. Somebody has an envelope and they're going to give it
Actually, now that you've mentioned it.
But it's, I don't know about drama. I don't think people feel there is the scale or the relationship, but we were just talking before about radio. Radio is an incredibly intimate experience for the audience. It's a one-to-one, and yet you can get the best stories within that. And I think it's about unleashing what it could be. Mostly in the past, comedy's thought about short form, and the project I'm working on at the moment, this group of writers said, no, it's not short. We want to do big. We want to do huge. And actually, the new platform allows you to do kind of novel-sized work. So basically, I think comedy, because it comes from a sketch route and a character route, and they can put a character up on YouTube, and if that character gets traction, then it starts to grow, and it has an organic growth into something else, whereas drama is looking at story, so it's a bigger arc. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why it's not quite worked yet. Could I just give another example?
Of course, yeah.
Last week we launched a big program called Future Talent, which was for young people to submit their stories, drama, comedy, immersive games, digital experiences, and they're only submitting content, so no scripts at all. But we had on one panel, they're called People Just Do Nothing, is their comedy series. 4 years they've had those characters on YouTube, and now it's in its second series on BBC television. And it was the YouTube characters that they absolutely believed in, that they weren't seeing on screen, that they just wanted to play with and put them in different places. And I think that's what's so exciting.
And it seems, I mean, there seems to be a lot of major broadcasters, film companies, and so forth are looking now to the YouTubes, to maker studios, to whoever, people who are creating their own stuff. Is there direct translation between popularity on an online platform and a translation to a broadcast medium, or is it a certain type of talent or a certain type of form that works best? Are there YouTube stars that would never work, for example, on the BBC?
Well, I think there's sort of how rude are they? I think that's the sort of the line, really. But no, but the thing about drama is script. Mm-hmm. It's more complex what's needed, and I think so the correlation between YouTube and drama storytelling, if it's long form, it is not so simple as it is with comedy, because comedy is driven by writer performers more often than not, so it's a slightly different route into the work.
Are there any examples that you know of that have where you've seen that transition on the drama side?
No, the only one, I think there was an American piece, was it called Dinah? That was a sort of two-hander, but online drama, which I think went into bigger, but I don't know if there's been any major dramas come through that. Not that I can think of. Does anyone know?
What's that? Eat Girl? Sorry, I didn't. Beat Girl, okay, yes, which I haven't seen, but I have heard of.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is still very, very rare. Is it? You just talked about ego and so forth. Is it that the talented writers aren't trying to do online and move that way, or is it that the online world hasn't adapted or hasn't matured to the point where they're doing sort of the type of long-form drama that you would see on BBC or other channels?
I think it's quite interesting, the landscape for drama at the moment. It's just growing and growing with all the kind of Netflix, Google, even Tesco's in the UK. You know, people want more drama. So a lot of the more experienced writers are going there, you know, rather than do something with a tiny budget. £2.50 really. So, and also it's about experiment, because the worst thing you can do is put a television drama online. Mm-hmm. And I think that replication is where a lot of things have failed. They've not thought about, it's not just online, it's about social media, and how does the social media narrative fit in to the online narrative as well. And I think it's, for me, and the writers I'm working with at the moment, they are social media kind of addicts. They consume, and they don't work on one thing, they work on 4 things at once. So how will they use that in their storytelling is kind of what we're looking at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, what are the other major mistakes that you see writers making when they look at this new world of how people are consuming media, the sort of the whole social media world? Major mistakes they make in either developing projects or thinking about how to do them? I
think a lot of the time people are just making a project which is smaller in scale but is not reinvented. So it's a normal kind of thriller, but they've maybe got a smaller budget and they're trying to do the same thing in a different space. And I think sometimes that doesn't work. And I think it's about being open and thinking about what is story. I think it's going back to the basics of what is story and what do we want from story, and therefore how can we make that story work in a new way, rather than thinking this is how story exists in the cinema, this is how story exists on television. I think it's going back to the roots of kind of character and story, and thinking about it as an oral tradition as well, rather than a literary tradition. I think it's quite a different concept, because people are creating their own stories. They're not starting with the script, they're just making it. And I think that's where it feels fresh on YouTube and fresh in different places.
Right. Well, we have, I don't know if there are any questions? Just because there is a project that you've been working on, Laura's Kitchen, which is which seems to be doing just what you're saying, adapting story to this new world that we're living in. We have a small clip of that. I don't know if that's lined up. If we can maybe play that, and then we talk about exactly how the writers go about adapting this, what seems a very old story, a murder mystery, adapting it to a very new form. Could we maybe play the before?
So this is a proof of concept which we made about a year ago to get the funding and to make this. So I think that's the crucial thing. It's rough. You've just seen the BBC very expensive trailer. This is the proof of concept, not expensive trailer.
Okay, can we run the proof of concept, not expensive trailer?
We didn't know this program existed. Do you think we should have known?
The fact of the matter is there's nowhere to hide.
There is a massive apparatus that has only one goal: to make it so that every single form of human communication, human interaction, human behavior can never be beyond their reach.
Privacy is dead. Get over it.
You're not Mom.
Yeah, cunning, right?
Is she there?
No.
Are you smoking?
No.
Liar.
So that obviously was the proof of concept, but it's now in production, going into production? What's the state of it?
So just the journey of this was I took, as one of our writer labs, we took away 6 writers to think about new drama, online, digital. And the big thing that they said was that they want to immerse themselves. They don't want the short form, they don't want the snapshot. And out of that week came the concept of a 24-hour drama. But the drama, the narrative, is basically data that's collected. So the big issue for them is surveillance, how we live in a world where we've all lost our kind of privacy, where it's taken away. And a lot of the time, anything and everything we do is recorded without us being aware. So they created a fictional company, Saturn, which is hoping to sell to the police, which is probably already sold because Prism and everything exists anyway, where it just collates data. It's face recognition data. And in the last hours of Laura Kitchen, we take our very final 24 hours. And it's this document, so the narrative is that. So it's a mix of CCTV, Skype, text, phone, video conferencing, all the data that is collected over an extraordinary 24-hour period. I remember going to a workshop with Bob Cochran, who created 24 Hour, and he just said, you know, what is going to keep somebody up 24 hours? That's the key to the story. And what is the extraordinary thing on top of the extraordinary thing? So that's what the writers have been working on, is how, and also I suppose to tap into the surveillance society, but the voyeur in people. And,
which is a long tradition in cinema and film anyway.
And not to feel afraid. I mean, we didn't play that. A very, very long shots of almost nothing happening. It's like, you know, the artwork of David Beckham sleeping, that you can watch somebody for half an hour and it is incredibly intrusive, but we think something's going to happen.
And so this will be totally online, right? The project?
Totally online. So the space, I don't know if you've come across, but the space is a new digital art space, which is funded by the BBC and the Arts Council in Britain. And every they've just, in fact, I think, had a window. So it's global. Anybody can submit an idea to the space. It's quite unique in that. And they are looking for experiment, and they're looking for completely different form of dance works, film, art, anything. So Laura Kitchen will be a 24-hour almost video stream, but most of the story is hidden in YouTube. You have to go out and find it on the web. You have to go to the Twitter feeds of all the different characters. You have to go to the Instagrams. So the clue, the Who Killed Laura Kitchen is only out in the hinterland. Mm-hmm. It's not in the document. And we know that people will view it either as cult viewers, mm-hmm. and they'll set up their own Pinterest suspect boards, and there'll be people who'll just dip in and out. Right. Because at the moment, the writers are feeling they don't want anybody to play with the document. Mm-hmm. They can
it'll be a controlled narrative. They'll have the whole thing, what they want. So more like a classic drama, but done online and
well, it's online there, but it will be the screen won't be just a conventional screen of a film. It will have lots of other things within mm-hmm. the stream, and then a huge amount of it is buried. And we'll need interactive from the viewers to get involved in the web space.
Right. Well, we're running out of time, fortunately, but we have one question here. Yeah. There's a microphone's coming.
Pardon?
Oops. So there's no audience engagement involved, so it's all scripted.
No. There's lots of audience engagement. So what we've done is create it almost like an experience, like a game.
So it's a bit like The Truth About Marika or Dina Fox or
to name a few. So you start.
Or Net Wars.
It's kind of, yes, we keep the conversation going, and people then decide what they want to do, and people can make their own films as a result of it and take the content and then build something else that they want to build. So it's about starting with a piece and then letting it become anything it wants, that the audience wants it to become. But it is not that you play with the actual content. It's not an immersive digital game experience. It's more an experience. It's an experience, not a game. So that's the idea. So it will be screened, we'll do 24-hour screenings. There'll be things happening linked to it as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And first, my co-moderator.
Kate, hi. It's Kate Bulkley. Do you think that writers need to have more technical skills now, given what's going on with technology? I mean, do they need to actually understand all this new technology that's happening to make the kind of stories that are going to work in this new world, or not?
I think they do. And I think quite a lot of the new generation of talent coming up just naturally do that. And also, I'd say the very business-savvy writers are very clear about what the opportunities there are and how they can use technology. I think it's split at the moment. There are some people who just see, they think about the art, the craft and the business, but story. They do not think about, they get someone else to think about that. But I think it's changing. I think it's changing so fast. I think the audience, we were just saying, if you think about children and young people coming through, my daughter is a Minecraft obsessive. She's 11, and she spends more time with Stampy and Squid, the vloggers, attached to Minecraft and their narrative. And at the moment, children's television, which used to serve her and she loved, is not as fast-paced as what she demands. She wants more. So I think the broadcasters have to catch up. So at the moment, the BBC is using iPlayer for original content. So it's premiere a lot of the content now, and it will build and do more of that on iPlayer rather than just the terrestrial, where the audience is in control of their content and how they watch it.
So, sorry. So you actually just answered my question, because it was, do you see in this interactiveness the future of drama, or is it just made because it's possible right now? Because I'm not sure if people in future really sit in front of it and want to take part as lot as they can in your example.
I mean, I think drama is very healthy, and I think people are just experimenting with what they can do. And Frank Cottrell Boyce, who was the co-author of the Olympic Games opening ceremony with Danny Boyle. One of the things he said to me recently was about, have we lost the capacity to wonder? And by that he means wonder in awe, and also to wonder around an idea. And I think so often we don't experiment, and we don't allow ourselves to fail. And I think that's so important about the creative industries, that we've got to be bold enough to attempt something. And it might not work, but to believe in an idea or believe in a character, to believe in putting her in one place or another, and different ways of storytelling. And I think that two things need to sit side by side. Is that place for experiment, and then as technology changes, that those people will kind of join together. Because 5.
Yeah.
I thought it was my score.
No, yeah. We are being judged. This is actually being filmed.
We're being judged.
Simon Cowell's going to come in later, and
I only got 5, so everybody else can get more.
Okay, so just to add one, so you wouldn't say that in like 20 years everything is going to be interactive drama, or will people still sit in front of it and like?
Yeah, that's actually my closing question, sort of the look towards the future. Well, no, it's perfect. It's perfect. I mean, the changes that we're seeing now, are they going to be, is this a permanent transformation of how we experience drama? Or, yes, is this an experiment that'll be an add-on?
I think that's such an interesting question, because I don't know. The growth in what's called immersive theatre in London is huge. You know, you go to some old warehouse, it happens all around you, people attack you, people want the experience. You know, they want to experience things for themselves. They're not passive anymore. So, and yet at the same time, with a Broadchurch or a Happy Valley, you get really brilliant writers and directors coming together and telling those big stories, all the same in film. It works. Just yesterday was announced Brian Cox, who's a fantastic television physicist, is about to do a big experiment with Magic Leap and the team behind Gravity as a kind of the history of the universe experience with technology like it's never been seen before, that he's saying you're going to have to sit down for a day to recover. You know, so only 50 people can access that with these special kind of headgear. Well, who wouldn't want to experience it? So it is a mix of the experience and I think the story coming together. But I think both will coexist a long time. Radio, and I used to be head of radio drama, has been going a long, long time. And the success of Serial, the American podcast, you know, is testament to that. It's people like old-fashioned storytelling still. So I think we'll just learn to embrace the new. But I think the writer is also always going to be a big part of that. That's what, 3.
Right.
2.
2, yeah, well, let's keep going lower, but I think that's good.
Are there
good.
any more
other
questions about Writersroom? Yeah.
The back?
Do you think broadcasters are going to have to split their budgets between linear narratives and interactive narratives to sort of cater for the different demographics of ages or audiences?
No, but I think if you look, you know, in the CBBC, for example, the children's part is spending a huge amount of its budget on interactive already, because that's their audience. They know their audience. They know that's what they want. And they've just set up a whole new guerrilla unit in the BBC driven by technology. So things like the NHU, the National History Unit, they use technology in a very kind of forward-thinking way anyway. So there's always been a big R&D part of it. So I just think it will be included within the departmental budgets. But the BBC's going through so much change at the moment, you know, who knows where it'll be in 5 years. And I think that's the same for all broadcasting, really.
Who knows what TV will be, or what we'll be watching, or how in 5 or 10 years. Yeah.
But on the move.
Right, exactly. Any other questions? I think we have time for 1 or 2 more. Yeah. If not, then I'll start. Oh, yeah, is there one? Oh, sorry, I can't see through the lights here.
Yeah, sorry. You touched on immersive theatre. What about the next step, virtual reality and augmented reality? Do you have any experience or ideas about content in those, on those platforms?
That is so big. I don't have any experience of that. I mean, all I know is when I fly here, I'm flying to Bristol to get on a train, which is a digital immersive experience, as a refugee and trying to cross the border into Wales. And this is a big digital immersive experience. That's National Theatre of Wales's project, which they got a lot of funding for. So a lot of it is on the website if you go into National Theatre of Wales and type in border games. So people are playing with realities and who you are as a character and how you engage with that story. But virtual reality, apart from Doctor Who, I don't know. I leave that to Stephen Moffat.
Right, and David Tennant. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott.
Please, another round of applause for Kate. And I will hand over to another Kate, to Kate Buckley, for the next panel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Why don't my